So when I was I think a sophomore in high school, my family was adopting a couple of kids from Ukraine, and we were told that one of them was deaf. And so me and some of my siblings decided to learn sign language. Come to find out, when we adopted her, she's not deaf. She does hear, just as well as you and I. And I really loved sign language though, and so I chose to pursue it anyway, and ended up serving an American Sign Language mission. That was quite a while ago. I've been really signing for probably 6 years. ASL is not a spoken version of English. They're completely separate languages. Just like every other place in the world, everyone speaks their own language. Similarly, deaf people don't all use the same sign language. Not every deaf person uses American Sign Language because they're not from America. In the same way that you don't want to be forced to learn a different language just to conform to the people around you, you have your own culture and preferences, and similarly, deaf people do too. So here in America, we do American Sign Language. In Mongolia, they do Mongolian Sign Language, and they're all very, very different. Just as different as English and Spanish are, just as different as English and Mongolian, or whatever else it might be. Sometimes it kind of blurs together what's deaf community, what's ASL interpreter, and so honestly, I think the humor is pretty fun because jokes in sign language are different than jokes in English. And so if you think of, like if you've ever seen a black and white cartoon, maybe like Tom and Jerry, or any other older cartoons, specifically the black and white ones where there's no sound and it's just like silly things happening. ASL is, in my opinion, a little bit like that because they don't really tell jokes that have certain plot devices like us, like play on words or like rhyming. And so a lot of the humor that I find funny is more just like people acting out silly stories of like, you won't guess what happened to me. Like I was walking down the grocery store and I slipped. And when you tell that story, you don't just tell it, but you act it out again. And so people get to relive the humor. And so I think the humor in ASL is pretty good. I have learned that it's not so much about if you're well-spoken or if you are the smartest person in the room, but really what matters is the effort. And I think that's really applicable to us as BYU-H students, specifically because here at BYU-Hawaii, there's a lot of different cultures and people come from all over the world. And I myself am a native English speaker, but I've gone through that process of like being somewhere new in a culture that's not my own and saying, you know, I don't really know how to communicate how I'm thinking or feeling. But what's different is there's deaf people everywhere across the whole world. And a lot of them are fairly secluded because you don't meet a deaf person in just your everyday to-day life. Like you probably haven't met a deaf person this week, right? And so these deaf people might be a little bit more secluded than you and I are because I can walk outside and meet someone that speaks English anywhere I go. But that's not the same for those that are deaf. And so they really appreciate you putting in the effort to try your best. So I'm not the very best signer. I'm not more skilled than the next interpreter, but I do my very best. And what really matters is connecting with the people. And I think as students at BYU-Hawaii, we can all relate to that of, I'm not the very best, but I'm doing my best, and I can still achieve great things and make people feel like they're worth something, even if I myself am imperfect. I'm Landon, and I'm an ASL interpreter.